Hello everyone, this is Kriti extending a warm welcome to all of you. I'm a marketing executive at Upside Learning and your host for the webinar today. Thank you for taking the time to attend our webinar, The Buyer-Provider Partnership, the Key to High Quality Custom Content. Before we get started, I would like to let you know that you will be receiving the recording of this webinar later through email. Feel free to ask any questions anytime using the chat facility. Now, for a quick introduction about Upside Learning, we are one of the world leaders in training outsourcing, which has been validated by the 20 plus awards and recognition we have won over the span of 12 years for our custom e-learning services ranging from responsive e-learning development to rapid e-learning, on-site ID resources to multi-device testing, Flash to HTML conversion to translation and localization, and more. Moving on to the webinar, it's my pleasure to introduce you to the speaker, Amit Garg, Director, Custom Learning Solutions and co-founder, Upside Learning. Amit, over to you.
Thanks, Kriti. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are joining us today from, and thanks so much for joining us. I hope you are able to hear me all right. If you're not, please do indicate that in the chat window. So once again, welcome to this session. This is primarily based on a Brandon Hall report that we had the pleasure of being associated with. It focuses on an area that we are passionate about and have been really working in essentially that domain for over 12 years now. So that's about the buyer-provider partnership, key to high-quality custom content. That's really the report that we are really looking at today. The report has been created based on surveys that Brandon Hall Group did for about 206 companies coming from 30 different industries from around the globe. So that's quite comprehensive in terms of giving us a feel for the overall of outsourcing landscape and what's working, what's not working, what should be done, etc. So in today's session, what we'll do is we'll look at what the report actually says and try and understand some of those data points that have been thrown up there, and also add on to that from our own experience of working with hundreds of different clients in the last decade or so on what really works in creating that buyer-provider relationship. Up front, we have two polls today. We'll just have them in the initial 5 minutes of our session. The first one is, do you outsource any content development? I'll quickly launch that poll for you. If you could take a minute and just put in your responses, that will be good. So we have about 60% people voted. If there are any more votes coming, we'll wait for a few more seconds and then close the poll. All right. So let's close the poll and show you the results. We have 75% of this group not outsourcing and 25% outsourcing. So slightly different from the audience that Brandon Hall polled. We'll go back to our PPT and see that. So very interesting. From the report, we have an interesting data point which says, and this is actually pulled out from another of their report and included as some commentary in this particular report, that content development is seen as priority or critical by 68% of companies, and this is second only to leadership development in importance. So that is a hugely important area for a majority of companies surveyed. And also it says that 53% organizations say that their inability to customize their content is a significant challenge to implementing their learning strategies. What's more interesting is the survey actually found about 77% of companies outsourcing some amount of uh, content development requirements. So as against the 25% that we got from the audience that we have today. Okay, so here is our second poll, the second and last poll for this session. I'll quickly launch that, which is about how much are you really outsourcing. Less than 20%, 20 to 50% of your overall content needs, 50 to 75% or more than 75%. So again, since we have only 25% of our audience who's actually outsourcing, it is not hugely relevant to the others. They'll probably poll in the less than 20%, so we'll see a huge proportion coming out in less than 20%, I'm hoping. So we'll give it another 5-6 seconds to close. We have about less than half of you voted. All right, so we're not seeing any new votes coming in. We have about half of you voted, and interestingly, everybody is less than 20%. So of course, the 75% who are not doing anything in e-learning outsourcing at all would feature here itself. But anybody else who was actually doing any e-learning outsourcing is also doing less than 20% of their overall needs. Very interesting. Let's look at what the survey found. That Brandon Hall did in this for this report. So looking at from right to left, there are about 1.3% organizations which outsource all of their content development requirements. There are about 20 or 21 odd percentage who are doing more than 50% of their content requirements. But yes, on the left side you can see huge proportion, about 25% is doing about 1 to 5%. And this is of course out of the 77% who are doing anything. There are a further 23% who are not doing anything on e-learning outsourcing yet. So there is a significant chunk which is not doing a lot of e-learning outsourcing, but there are others who are doing it. This becomes even more interesting if you look at only the organizations which are 7,500 employees or staff plus. The picture changes a bit. 100% of them have outsourced. So what percentage they have outsourced is different, and we don't have exact data for that. But there are 53% who outsource more than 23%. So as the organization size increases, more and more of those organizations have been outsourcing. 1.7% as against the 1.3% that we saw in the previous chart have been outsourcing 100% of their needs, and 50% of them actually offshore as well. So not necessarily that they're doing only offshoring, but they are maybe doing both onshore as well as offshore. Maybe it's a different set of vendors they're dealing with. We ourselves have been primarily doing a lot of offshore e-learning outsourcing work for our clients. The next thing that the report looks at is what are the companies really outsourcing. So the top three: media development, content writing, instructional design, fairly common it seems. Most of them are doing that, and this is where most of the, as they call it, heavy lifting is really happening. Very interesting for me to find programming and integration being about 35%, which is actually quite less. And if I were to reflect on what it would have been about 10 years ago, this would have been substantially higher. And I can only think that the reason would be that authoring tools have come about, they have matured, they have got good capabilities, so people can do some of that programming work internally And maybe sometimes organizations don't even realize that their vendors are doing some programming because they believe that the rest of the three, structure design and creating the whole e-learning output, is all that is being done, because tools don't make it evident that there is programming that is being done, if at all is. The all-important question, why do they do outsourcing? And here is a little bit of surprise, at least to me, not so much, but at least I'm sure for some of our participants, cost is really not the number one factor when they're looking at doing e-learning outsourcing. Uh, there are other factors which are quite important, and they've listed all of them here. The most important one being staffing capacity. Uh, you know, the business requirements are a little unpredictable. There are, high and low periods of staff that are required for such work. It's very difficult for them to really have uh, enough people for all of those highs and lows. The second one probably ties into the first one in a way, which is lack of in-house capabilities. I see that as a moving target because, the domain is constantly evolving. You can't always have people who are at the cutting edge of technologies, uh, all of them in your organization. And for most organizations, it is not a huge department or set of people. Usually there are 1, 2, 3 people inside, and just keeping up with the various things that are happening in the domain could be very challenging. So lack of in-house capabilities is another area or reason why they are really outsourcing. Faster development times, again a reflection of how things move in business these days. Sometimes it seems that the priorities may change or the objectives may change even while the course has been, or the project is underway, it has been created and rolled out, and things have changed. And I'm sure if you've been involved in e-learning earlier, you have had this experience of things changing midway and then going back to the drawing board and redoing things, etc. So faster development times is again a little bit on the staffing capacity linked to that, but of course it also brings in a little bit of scalability. So even if you have 2 or 3 people internally and suddenly you are hit with 4 or 5 projects, everybody is looking for faster rollout and quicker time to market. You can't satisfy all of them, and that's where an external team is really helpful. I'm very interested in the next driver, which is the access to innovation. And this is, in my view, very closely linked to the lack of in-house capabilities. So it is some part of it is skills and keeping up with newer trends and what else is possible, ability to invest in R&D, trying out samples, etc. And that is quite important. We believe as a partnership matures and goes into maybe the second or third year of their partnership. The surprise factor, which was reduced cost, very less people really saying that they are going into e-learning outsourcing arrangements for cost. And equally important that there's a large number of people who are actually saying not at all. That's very surprising. So they're not going into e-learning outsourcing because of cost. So that's very interesting because we found at least a few years ago that used to be the primary reason for people to move to e-learning outsourcing. But then it has changed, and probably it is also a reflection of the maturity of partnerships that some of these participant people in this survey, their companies, they would have that kind of matured partnership with their providers. The next thing that the report asks is what factors are really important in their relationship with or in their buyer-provider relationship. Quality is number one, but surprisingly cost kind of comes back at number two, and fairly high, 6.8. And then there is instructional design expertise, which kind of feeds into the quality aspect. And the fourth one is very, very important, which is trust. And we'll look at where they feature. So cost, interestingly, while they're not beginning with cost as one of the key criteria or driver to get into e-learning outsourcing, once they are in, they're definitely looking at uh, managing the cost better. And if you ask them what is their satisfaction level with their content development outsourcing, cost again becomes quite significant. So if you see the 25% people who are not at all happy. So so this is really kind of surprising again. So one, that cost wasn't so important when clients were looking to get into e-learning outsourcing, but when they're evaluating their satisfaction or their partnership with their suppliers, cost is very important. And actually the Brandon Hall report puts it quite aptly. What it says is many companies wouldn't be highly satisfied unless the cost is zero. So I think even when they get into an arrangement with best intentions, the bottom line is always an issue. And there could also be a reason where when you get into e-learning outsourcing from the previous year in comparison, you will save cost. And you can save 10%, you can save 50% depending on what you outsourced and to whom you outsourced. But that is your new baseline. And if you're expecting further cost reductions year on year, that is not going to be possible. So maybe that could also play a little bit of role in dissatisfaction on the cost front. But coming back to all the other factors, capacity is something that most companies are happy with. Quality is reasonably okay. Value, which I'm not sure. Ideally, it would bring in cost element as well, but seems to be okay. Not as good because 20% are not so happy. What is standing out here is innovation. A lot of companies are not happy with their vendors or partners in terms of innovation. What kind of new solutions, ideas, etc., that they can bring to the table in terms of moving the organization or the client ahead. One important data point that we picked up from the report was about 62% of companies have replaced outsourcing providers in the last 3 years, which is a fair bit of churn. And the reasons that they give for that is quality is the biggest concern. Two-thirds of them have really churned their vendors because of quality reasons. Poor communication, difficult to work with, could be, quality of experience may not be the quality of output. So the process itself is very cumbersome. Delivery delays could, I would club there with number 2 itself. Cost overruns are still featuring here, but not as high, which is quite interesting. So the report actually picks on that point and says that despite the relatively low satisfaction with cost, they're not really getting rid of the provider. And hence what they're saying is the relationship is more important, which is where the trust factor comes in. When you believe in the partner, and both the parties have been able to create that relationship of trust and value add. So the report really finds that if you have a good relationship, it can trump many other issues. So key takeaways from the report straight away are don't be driven solely by price. That's one recommendation. While yes, it is important to manage your cost, cost is really not the only thing that you should be looking at. What really appears as a bargain sometimes to begin with may not end that way. There could be delays, there could be bad experience of during the project, communication issues, etc. Maybe bugs, and overall quality can also suffer. So I think once you settle down, quality becomes even or much more important than cost. Cost should not be your sole criteria. There should be, it is to be taken into account, but not really the number one thing or the only thing. Find a partner, not a vendor. So, if you're finding a vendor, they'll do what you tell them to do, but they'll not think beyond that, because they don't know whether you trust them or not. They don't know whether you will appreciate them or not, or you'll actually start thinking, oh, they can't follow instructions. So, you need a partner who can understand your needs, and help you as you move along the e-learning journey, in terms of moving your organization from basic solutions to more advanced ones, as your understanding, implementation, and the organization itself evolves. So what it says is, custom content development is not simply a purchase and walk away arrangement. It is more two-sided and more involved than that. Look for right technologies. Again, this is one of the benefits that you can get from a good relationship from a provider, especially those who have ability to innovate and provide new kinds of solutions, because you internally may not have access to all of those technologies and expertise. And scalability, of course, is one of the primary things that you should be looking at, because you don't want to really be looking at different providers as you start growing your e-learning initiatives. So that's really all from the report itself. Let's jump into this one more statement, which is we just discussed. But let's get into our experience of of this kind of relationships and what we've learned from that, and we can share what has worked for us and how we have tried to structure our partnerships with our clients. If there are any questions, please feel free to shoot them in the chat box, and I'll pick them up as and when I see anything there. All right. So we have really built our partnerships on three core things: value, innovation, and relationship overall. And let's look at each of these in more detail to understand what we mean by that. By value, we really mean it's a combination of cost and quality. So obviously, cost can't be seen in isolation, and it happens almost all the time that clients keep on comparing apples with oranges. And one annoying thing about e-learning is the level 1, 2, 3. A vendor can go ahead and describe their level 3 as whatever, while the other vendor could have been doing great work at level 1. So it is something that is slightly challenging, especially when you're new to e-learning, but we really try and focus on having these two in value, which is cost and quality. In terms of cost, we've been told by our clients that they end up saving costs between 25 to 50% when they work with us, and this depends on the size of the project, type of the project, urgency, etc., various things. And in terms of quality, I think we believe that some of the awards that we won and the client feedback that we get constantly is really telling us that we deliver good quality to them. And there's another thing that we'll touch upon, which is the relationship that we've built with them for long term, which is also telling us that that quality is something that they're happy with. So these are two core parts of what we believe is the value that we bring to our clients. At the same time, we also add communication and project management. So combining all of these is really the value basket that we're talking of, which is the first key basket or pillar that you can say for all our relationships. Communication is crucial, as we have learned over the years. We've had clients who've said, I hate delays, but I hate no communication about it even more. So because they don't get time to really tell their stakeholders if it was told to them in advance, they could possibly make some arrangements, etc., etc. There could be so many other things. Not that delays are good, but then there are things which are inevitable that happens on the project. Proactive communication, uh, etc., is very, very important. And good communication. Sometimes we've had feedback that our clients had experiences with some other vendors where they had a call, they discussed everything, and the feedback and the summary of that call that they got was almost entirely different. So basic communication skills and understanding, reproducing what has been discussed, implementing that, and being proactive for the various project stages. And overall project management itself in terms of getting resources on time, delivering stuff, meeting commitments, not leaving bugs, etc. So all of that really becomes a package in the value basket. The second one, which we really take pride in, is innovation. We focus on continuously bringing usable innovation to our clients, and I think usable innovation is something that we have gone in the last 2-3 years. We started off with something which was, I would believe, slightly more fancy innovation maybe, and by that I mean something which was possible but may not be as eagerly required or accepted by the market. So when we started doing innovation, we were little, let's say we were a little fancy, but over the last 2-3 years we've been more grounded in terms of focusing on the needs that the clients have now or in the next 12 months and not in the next 5 years. But yeah, we've been focusing on this. We have a team internally designated for this under a team named What's New, and they continuously look at new trends, tools, and ideas that are coming about. They evaluate those, they experiment with those to create demos, mock-ups. We take them to our clients to get their feedback and be ready with the solution before, most of the times, before our clients really need them. So that's been something that has helped us build very long-term partnerships with our clients, because they know that they can depend on us because we'll be ready with solutions of various kinds when they are ready for them. So just to showcase some of the work that we've done in the past, as I said, in early days we had a lot of slightly more on the horizon, more distant solutions that we had. Of course, we jumped into mobile pretty early with blog apps, with augmented reality solutions, with quiz apps, etc. Not too many of those really sold, I would believe, but it made our clients believe that we can do all of that, and there are practical applications. So we did do a few of these projects in those days. We in fact got eLearning magazine to collaborate with us to do an augmented reality cover for them based on the various augmented reality projects we've done in previous year. We also implemented a QR code a solution for one of our clients in UK, where essentially as a performance support solution, where you had the QR code printed on the cleaning agent bottles, which could be scanned through the phone, and that would essentially launch a video on how to clean or use that product. Then we actually went into doing a lot of responsive work. So in 2014, and we took about a year to create this, but most of our late 2012 and 13 went into creating FRED, which is the framework for responsive e-learning development, which was, we believe that there was a requirement for doing a lot of responsive e-learning coming up. The world was getting ready. Websites were already responsive, a lot of them, and there was real opportunity there, but none of the tools had that capability. So we went ahead and created our own framework, and we believe even today it has a certain set of capabilities which none of the commercially available tools offer when it comes to responsive e-learning development. And that itself has been very reassuring to our clients in terms of our capabilities on HTML5 and responsive e-learning. Testing lab was really an offshoot of the framework itself. We realized that our clients will need a physical lab for doing testing of any responsive e-learning that they do either themselves or any other vendor. So we really started offering that as well. And then we became an early adopter of X APIs, put it in our Fred framework and put it in a few client solutions as well. In 2015, we've really spent a lot of time evaluating all the tools that have come up on multi-device authoring or responsive learning. So there's Captivate, there's Lucidad, there's Adapt, Lectura, Gomo, all of them. So, and what we're doing now is we are really publishing our findings, whatever we have learned in working with each of these tools. We're publishing that on our blog for public at large to just evaluate which tool is best for their needs. Very interesting that we were working with a client in Australia who was very impressed with the single page scrolling capability of one of these tools. But then they also wanted to deliver it on lower versions of IE, Internet Explorer, and that's where that tool doesn't work. So we had to really help them find the right tool for them, and which is where the value comes in from all the research and experimentation that we do with various things ahead of the client really asking for those. For this year, our focus is really on creating a structure for interactive video. We've done a few interactive videos, but we see a growing demand for that coming up, and I think it is really the time when interactive video is going to become important, especially considering that it goes on mobile as well. Virtual reality, I think it's still in early stages. I would not personally say it's going to go in huge numbers, but it's an area that we would like to explore and see what is possible. And offline with the tracking is another area that various clients for various constraints that they may have on infrastructure and how they want to deliver and whom they want to deliver solutions, they would want to give it on mobile devices so that solutions are available offline as well and they can be tracked as well. So we're creating various options there. We have a couple of them, including Adobe Air, ebooks, apps, or LMS apps. So there are various solutions that are there. We're just trying to get a comprehensive set available for our clients. So that's really on innovation. But at the same time, we also, as I said about those evaluation of authoring tools, we do end up sharing a lot of what we are thinking and experimenting with on our blog and various places. And that leads to some of this kind of recognition, top 1% most viewed content on SlideShare, one of the top e-learning blogs, one of the top 50 socially shared e-learning blogs, and we were the #1 company at Learning Technology Show to have a great conversation at when we participated in 2014. The third aspect, which is a relationship, is something that for me as a business owner is most important. I take pride in having clients who've been with us for 5 years or more, and we have several clients who have been with us for more than 5 years. In fact, a few of them have been with us for more than 10 years now. What it reassures all of us is that our team is doing some great work, consistently delivering good value to these clients, to be able to retain them for so long. The market is really competitive. Cost does become a factor, and it is, our clients say that they get emails almost every week from various vendors from around the world saying we can do it cheaper. Of course, but then cost and quality is what we really take together. So here's an example of one such relationship which we have been involved in for over 5 years now. We started with them very small, about $48,000 was the value of relationship when we started with them. And now we do about $500,000 with them every year. So yeah, it's grown over the last 2 years. In total, I think we would have done about $2 million worth of work for them in last 5.5 years that we have been with them. So we started off, and of course, these are just the stages that we have highlighted. What we're doing here is we started off with a very basic framework course. Then we went into animated courses, translation and localization, on-site instructional design, game-based assessments. We created a new framework for them. We had performance support snippets. So essentially we're moving them from basic e-learning to other kinds of e-learning, on-site support, game-based, performance support. We move them to refreshing their courses or to other things, and more game-based learning and getting them into responsive e-learning as well. So I think that's been one very interesting relationship that we've had, and there are several like that which really highlight the kind of relationship building that we have been focused on. So from our experience, the key takeaways would be one, that the content development process is itself iterative in nature, and it needs it is somewhat unique for each client and can be only perfected over a period of time. So that's something that we try and educate our clients, and we believe that once this settles down, most of the relationship issues are really taken care of. It obviously needs commitment from the client teams as well. Uh, in terms of creating quality e-learning, which is one area where, and this links to the quality of output, which is most of the vendor churn that we saw was happening because of quality. Now, we believe that unless you leave or let your vendor free in terms of providing new types of solutions, etc., and believe in their capabilities, a vendor will only be able to do what you tell them. And secondly, and we have experienced this ourselves, that the client needs to be bold internally, get buy-in for new kinds of solutions, and something that they believe is a good solution, but the organization has not experienced in past. So we need to break that particular ceiling and get beyond the kind of solutions that you have been doing so far. And of course, focus on cost only so much. If you bargain too hard, you might actually get what you are really bargaining for. It won't really make a lot of difference to your the performance and learning objectives. So don't make it your most important factor, of course. So we kind of covered what we had pretty quickly. That's all we have for today from this. Of course, happy to take any questions that you may have. So we'll wait for another minute or so to see if anybody is really typing in any question. All right. So we don't see any questions coming. We'll then close this session for now. Feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions later on. And of course, if you haven't downloaded the report, go ahead and download that. It's available for free. All right. Okay. So thank you very much. Thanks again for joining us today, and you all have a good evening, night, wherever you are. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.